Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Okay, this is the main event, guys. We are jumping into trades and players that you should try to acquire before your trade deadline is up. Most, defaults are week 10. So you're looking to maybe make a play for these guys this week or the next. And basically what we're trying to do here is acquire players that have, one, already had their bye weeks, and two, who have a great schedule, ideally if in weeks 14, 15, and 16, your fantasy championships. If you play in a, week 17 championship, get out of that league. Get your commissioner to change it. That's garbage. We play 14, 15, 16 because week 17, there's just a lot of people that don't play and it's not fair. So make that change if that's what you're going through. So I think it's only natural we kick things off with the quarterback. And we talk about maybe some of these guys that we try to pick up and who we might trade for if that's the case. There's going to be a lot less trading, though, in this segment with this position, just because a lot of these quarterbacks can be streamed. And we're not saying that because you pick them up now, you shouldn't hold them for the rest of the year, but it's not a plug-and-play option. It is a play-in-favorable matchup type option. So I'll flip it over to you guys. Which one of you wants to start? And just give her.
So I'll start with mine. And he's one of my favorite quarterbacks for this year. He hasn't overwhelmed anyone. He hasn't really won anyone many weeks, but he's got a really good playoff schedule. Now, for everyone listening, we are on limited time. So we're going to, for all of our patrons here, we're going to post a full list to our Patreon website. So if you are interested in our full list of players to get you through the playoffs and to win your fantasy leagues, join us on Patreon, our community there. We're trying to grow, and we'll keep it going. So here we go. I'm going to go with Carson Wentz. He is right now QB 11 on the season, but he's got a juicy schedule. He's got the Giants, Washington, and Dallas. I think Philadelphia has an outside chance at getting into the playoffs, fighting for that wild card spot. They're kind of on a roller coaster ride where they get a bad beat and then they come back and surprise everyone against the Bills. So hopefully Deshaun Jackson is back. That's going to really help Carson Wentz. You see Dallas Goedert be a great end zone target. And Zach Ertz. I mean, defense are scheming for Zach Ertz. He's been
you've seen it,
underwhelming for what you wanted from him. He's still a top 12 tight end, but he's not what you wanted, and it's not what you drafted. So I think he will come into his own, and Carson Wentz has a great schedule. Let's I doubt he's going to be dropped, and you could probably get him in a combo trade because he hasn't won people weeks, so he might be on a team that just is going to give up.
Now, Carson Wentz is a name that has a lot of value, and he's not going to be on your waiver wires. He's probably owned in 95+% of leagues. So,
for sure.
Who would you be willing to trade? You said maybe a package deal, but who would you be willing to trade to give away to try to get Carson Wentz?
That is a good question, Mackenzie.
To my mind, I'm thinking, maybe a Josh Allen plus.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. He kind of came straight to my mind as well. I do like Josh Allen. So let's see some trades that happened today with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz and Tevin Coleman for Stafford and Dorsett. That's a silly trade.
I would do that deal. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I would. Yep. Kirk Cousins straight up for Carson Wentz. That's a very lateral move.
It's lateral, but if the schedule, so we'll talk about this too, but like the some of the trades that we present to you tonight or the advice we give to you might appear very lateral, but if you can trade away a player who, already had their bye and you pick up a player who already had their bye and you give away somebody that has a bye and has a better schedule, you're getting a player of equal value per se, but they have one more game they can play for you and a favorable matchup or matchups. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. They might appear lateral, but there's more underlying, and people aren't going to be thinking about these things when they go and make trades. They're just going to say, oh man, like Carson Wentz for Kirk Cousins. Like, oh, let me see. Oh, Kirk Cousins has been the quarterback 8 on the year. Yeah, I'll take that. But they don't look at everything else.
And so the Eagles have a Week 10 bye. So Carson Wentz very well could be dropped that week. So if he is, check out that waiver wire in Week 10. It's a bye-apocalypse. There's tons of teams on bye that week. There's 6 of them in total. So that might be the week to really check the waivers and stash them.
Mm-hmm. Good call, Lando. I guess I'll go next here and talk about a representative of the team I love who hasn't been playing necessarily great football recently, and that's Jameis
No bias
Winston.
Here, though.
No, honestly, I try to steer away from it because it's just been atrocious trying to watch him. He is still plagued with his unpredictable nature and ballsy attitude, and doesn't really seem all that. He doesn't really seem to be under the gun from his head coach,
Correct.
which is probably a bit of a problem in itself. But anyhow, Jameis Winston is right now the QB 14, and we know that he has 2 of the best receivers in the game on him right now, and he has got a money schedule coming up in the playoff push. So honestly, you probably wouldn't have to pay up too high to get Jameis Winston. And weeks 14, 15, 16, he goes Indianapolis, Detroit, Houston, which... I mean, that's as juicy as it gets for someone who, with as good of an arm as him, and despite turnovers, still puts up such good numbers. It's a team that's, they're
always fighting. They're always throwing the ball. Like it's great. Like he turns the ball over and creates a negative game script for the Bucs, which now produces a great fantasy quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Well. And you're right. I mean, he is the type of rigorous player that doesn't give up throughout a game. So as disappointing as he may seem, even 3 quarters through, there's still always upside for Jameis. And also, I mean, you gotta notice that they don't have much of a run game going for them at all. So you can bank on him always throwing the ball a ton in every game. So yeah, Jameis Winston would be probably pretty easily obtained, I'm thinking right now, and could be that guy down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at his ownership percentage. It's 78%. So he's owned in 3/4 of leagues. There's in most of the leagues I play in, he is up and down on teams dropped, and that's probably going to continue throughout the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean, Jameis in the latter part of the rest of season schedule, he's going to be pretty valuable, and I love his weapons. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are fantastic, and hopefully the run game can pick up just a little bit. But yeah, I like this pick.
Cool. Are we going to move on to another position, guys? We have a few more, but we're going to save it for our patrons. Is that the idea?
No, I mean, let's try to fit these last 2 in. And,
okay.
Give as much as we can here. So I'll go real quick. I love Jacoby Brissett, quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. He's right now the quarterback 19 on the season. He's been steady all year, and he does sit at 19. I know it's on a sexy number, but basically 11 of the 18 guys ahead of him have yet to have their bye. So he actually sits 20 points behind what would be considered quarterback 1 or even like a top 10 spot. And so you have those guys, take a week away. That could potentially be 15 to 25 or 30 points. So Jacoby Brissett is in that top 10 fantasy quarterback conversation. And when I look at him with his schedule, Miami, Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Carolina to finish, that is juicy. And points per game wise, he ranks tied for 12th right now. So in the final weeks, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Carolina, Brissett's only owned in 61% of leagues, so there's a really, really good chance that he's on your waiver wire. He's not a guy that I would trade for, but if you can scoop him and plug and play in these really solid matchups like Miami, Jacksonville, Houston, Tampa Bay, even New Orleans can be thrown on. I really, really like Jacoby Brissett and the Colts to make up a push for their playoff season as well as your fantasy playoff season.
It's a solid pick, and I'll wrap it up quickly. For my pick, I'm actually going deep dumpster diving, and this is a very
yes, you are.
streamable quarterback, but it's somebody that a lot of people aren't considering. It is the current starter for the Tennessee Titans, Ryan Tannehill. Now, ever since he's taken over from Marcus Mariota, he's brought that passing attack back to life, if there ever was life in the passing game in Tennessee. Now, the thing that makes him so attractive and a sneaky stream is that his playoff schedule is pretty solid. You're looking at Oakland in Week 14, then the Texans, and then the Saints. So if you're being strategic and you're in a position where you have to stream quarterbacks, this is somebody who you could potentially stash for those potential games in the playoffs. If you're just going week to week, it never hurts to grab somebody like Tannehill. And then if he continues playing the way he has been, you might be in a great prime position with his schedule, because it's really hard to beat those 3 games when everything's on the line if you don't have a week-to-week plug-and-play starter.
Yeah, he's only 22% owned, and you know, not a lot of
Absolutely.
people have a lot of confidence in Tannehill, but I don't disagree with you. I mean, A.J. Brown has been a lot more intriguing since Tannehill took over, which is great. I love that. And Jonnu Smith was one of our biggest suggestions to you as listeners for, you know, your waiver wire pickups this week. He's another asset that I think Tannehill can lean on and can be productive. So it's definitely not a sexy pick, Scott, but you know,
But
it's definitely one that is
pick, and sometimes
available.
you have to balance off the 80% owned guys with this guy could be a diamond in the rough that if you have no quarterback for injury or trade purposes, this guy could save your playoffs.
Hey, he's got as many
100%.
wins as Winston.
Yikes. All right, well, that's a good preview for quarterbacks. Let's jump into running backs next.